Today, Israel continues an intense offensive without slowing its momentum. Israel's defense forces have carried out large-scale airstrikes followed by a ground operation in the area. In parallel, Israeli combat engineer units are working to clear paths to allow ground forces to maneuver, locate, and eliminate Hamas assets, including tunnels and rocket launchers. Hamas is known to operate an extensive network of tunnels under the territory for the smuggling of goods and weapons, as well as for the movement of fighters. The clearing and destruction of these tunnels are crucial aspects of Israel's strategy against Hamas, as they strengthen and expand its ground offensive. According to the Israeli military, warplanes have bombed northern Gaza over the past 2 nights. Tanks and other army forces have moved in a limited but determined manner towards the Strip, carrying out a massive operation. After arduous work, Israel's defense forces have discovered and destroyed more than 150 underground tunnels and bunkers belonging to the Hamas terrorist group. This success has considerably raised the morale of Israeli soldiers. As a result, Hamas militants have lost their momentum by losing so many of their underground shelters, resulting in the absence of a counterattack for almost 2 days. These tunnels are crucial for militants to take cover after an attack. Defense Minister Gantz said this afternoon, "The war has entered a new phase. The activity of ground forces has increased dramatically. We have hit Gaza from both the surface and underground. We are attacking terrorists of all levels everywhere. The war will continue until further notice." Explosions from a steady series of airstrikes lit up the sky over Gaza City for hours. Israel's defense forces reported the deaths of a large number of Hamas members in airstrikes in Gaza and in several clashes with soldiers. Among those killed was Issam Abu Rug, the leader of Hamas's self-styled Air Force. In a joint statement, the Israeli Defense Forces and the Shin Bet Intelligence Service stated that Abu Rug had responsibilities in the management of drones, Hamas paragliders, detection systems, and anti-aircraft defenses. He was involved in the planning and execution of the Hamas attack on October 7th, directing drone strikes against Israeli Defense Forces observation posts, as well as terrorists who parachuted into southern Israel. Rateb Abu Sahian, naval commander of Hamas's Gaza City Brigade, was also reported killed in an overnight airstrike. The Israeli Defense Forces claimed that Abu Sahian had orchestrated and ordered an attempted infiltration into Israel by sea on October 24th, which was foiled by Israeli naval forces. After this operation, ground forces, including combat engineer and tank units, remained in Gaza. This allowed Israeli troops to operate in deeper areas of Hamas-controlled territory, surpassing the reach of previous offensives that were more limited in scope. Hamas claimed to have used Kornet anti-tank rockets and mortar shells to repel the attack, claiming that these rockets prevented an offensive night landing by Israeli forces and caused casualties among its troops. However, they provided no evidence to support this claim. Israel's defense forces released images of their troops operating in the Gaza Strip overnight and the next morning. These forces then began to investigate the tunnels they had discovered. Before sending humans, an autonomous robot surveys the terrain, using lasers to orient itself, and working without needing orders from base camp. This robot has been a significant advance for Israel. You start by mapping the area, identifying your location on the map, and then proceed to expand it and explore previously unexplored places. This robot can move at a speed of approximately 1 kilometer per hour on that surface and stop when it detects obstacles. However, its main weakness in underground warfare lies in its vulnerability to armed individuals. The main reason Israel has chosen to implement these systems instead of people is because they are expendable. Hamas uses tunnels to avoid bombings and ambushes. These tunnels represent Hamas's best chance for survival in the face of the overwhelming firepower of Israel's defense forces. Hamas has built these tunnel systems to buy time and make it difficult for Israel's armed forces to defend themselves, seeking to provoke a reaction from the international community by showing the damage on the surface as unsustainable and thus achieve their arrest. In the past, Israel has closed tunnels it discovered. However, this time that strategy may not work, as there are very likely hostages being held. Ali Josbet Lifshitz, 85 years old, was one of them. He described how, upon his release, he was forced to pass through a vast network of tunnels under Gaza. Egypt has announced the significant expansion of humanitarian assistance to the southern Gaza Strip. Israel's defense forces are hoping that the arrival of more food, water, and medicine will encourage more Palestinians to move from the north to the south of the Strip. Israel has reiterated its warning about intense attacks targeting Gaza City and other areas north of the Strip, where Hamas is believed to have its main operating bases and extensive underground facilities. Much of these facilities are located underground. Israel's defense forces suspect that fuel sent for humanitarian aid is being used by Hamas to carry out actions against Israel. For this reason, they have repeatedly emphasized their refusal to allow fuel into the Gaza Strip. Reports from Gaza have been scarce following the Israeli bombings, which have paralyzed telephone and internet services, generating an almost total information blackout and isolating it largely from the outside world. Paltel, the Palestinian telecommunications services provider, reported that the bombings caused a complete interruption of internet and landline and mobile phone services. This disruption has meant that details about the victims of the attacks and the effects on the ground have not been immediately known. Despite this, some satellite phones continued to operate. In response, the Israeli Defense Forces intensified the intensity of their attacks, leaving large craters in the streets and destroying numerous buildings in the area. Recently, the Israeli military claimed that Hamas was using the Shifa hospital in Gaza City as its main base of operations. To support this assertion, Israel provided captured images and audio as evidence of the terrorist organization's activities there. Here it is mentioned that Israel has intelligence information that indicates the existence of numerous tunnels connected to the hospital, both to enter and exit it towards the underground base. It is also claimed that after the October 7th terrorist attack, hundreds of terrorists flocked to the place to take shelter. Rear Admiral Daniel Hagar, spokesman for Israel's defense forces, said, "The Air Force is conducting significant strikes on underground targets. In addition to the strikes we have conducted in recent days, our ground forces are expanding their operations." This time, Israel's defense forces are carrying out operations with great force to achieve the objectives of the war. Israeli army infantry and tank forces have been carrying out operations in the Gaza Strip for the past 2 days. In addition, attacks on Gaza City and the surrounding areas of northern Gaza will continue. The call is reiterated for the Palestinians to move to the south of the Strip. Preparation to defend all areas is underlined, and action to protect the security interests of the State of Israel is highlighted. Hagar has confidently announced that the attacks will continue. I appreciate his attention and follow-up to this information.